Hello and welcome to the latest edition of the DW Live Show, Series 3, Episode 2, if I'm not mistaken. Hello, Dom. How are you?
Good afternoon, Neil. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm all right. Back again. This went quick, didn't it, this
I know,
week?
right?
Now we're back in the saddle.
It's flying by. I'm back in the saddle in makeshift studio, not in the actual studio because Callum's using that one today. And we have another beautiful day just out of the window to my left here. It's wonderful down
Yeah.
here.
How's your suntan this week? Calm down.
Well, it slightly calmed down on my head. My legs, however, took a bit of a beating. I fell asleep in the sun last Thursday. It was a bit of an only fools and horses moment. It's quite ridiculous.
Anyway, thank you everyone for joining us. As I say, this is episode 2. We've got Duncan Custerson, of show director of International Confex and many other things that he does that I'm sure are not in his job description. Going to be giving us an exhibition masterclass today, which is super timely ahead of that little meeting you might have heard going on in the next couple of weeks, Confex, International Confex. We're all excited, aren't we, Dom? Because we're going.
I mean, it's like you planned this one, Neil.
Well, I do have my moments, of planning content.
Regardless of the slight dig there, yeah, the timing of this is perfect. I think as an industry, everyone who feels comfortable is looking forward to attending Confex. The 21st of June being up in the air is a pain in the backside for event organisers, especially for these guys, because they've gone all out and just committed to the dates. But it's particularly hard. But we will be there, and we're going to talk about that in a while, won't we?
Yeah, we are definitely going to be there, and Confex is definitely going to be happening, he says. No, it will be, definitely. We're going to talk to Duncan about that right at the beginning. So, on with the show. We're just going to tell you, big thanks to Events Case for registration services, Dom, for putting on the show for us again. The show sponsored by the DW Superstars. What we're going to do in a second, guys, is going to show you one of our compilation videos from some of the best comments and superstar testimonials that have been received in the last few days for some of our people. So if you want to get involved, guys, we'll put a link to that in the chat. I think Diane's in the chat. So we'll have that sized up in a minute. But also, we're live on Facebook, as usual, on the Facebook group. We are also on YouTube.
And Instagram. No, we're not live on Instagram, but you can follow us everywhere. We are live on Facebook and YouTube. And just search at the Delegate Wranglers. Follow Neil. Follow all of Neil's channels. That's the general rule.
You have to. Yeah, it's a rule.
You can't watch if you're not following.
Yeah, and if you can follow us and like and subscribe to us on YouTube, that's a big help for us as well, because we're getting there in the numbers now. So we just want to spread all this amazing content that we've gathered over the last year or so, Dom, don't we? And make sure people can see it, because all of it's relevant for whenever you watch it. So tune in there, guys.
I think the great thing about the last year that we've been doing this is the longevity of the content. There is nothing that we've done that I don't think still has relevance, and will continue to have relevance going forward. We've got everything covering virtual events, and a lot of that can be adapted for the hybrid event world. We've done stuff around live events, and I'm sure as we go forward we'll do more on live. So yeah, we just keep motoring on, but there's a ton of stuff to look back on, 50 odd episodes. So yeah.
Amazing.
Get on YouTube, it's all there. I see so many people saying, and actually even after the show last week, people saying, oh, is this recorded? Everything is always on YouTube.
Yeah.
It stays on Facebook, but it's always there for watching.
Yeah, we're always there, guys. And also at the end of the show, we're going to be running our weekly Lowdown with Martin Fallard from Mass Media. This is like a mass media takeover today.
I feel like this episode should have been sponsored.
Yeah, it's sponsored by Mass Media. Anyway, so before we go any further, we're just going to show you our superstar testimonial clip. And as I say, guys, you can get involved with this, and it's really not an expensive thing to do, but it gives you a massive head up on the group. So we can run that, and you can check some of these out, guys.
Over to Will.
Dom will do the chat room now. Just say hello. We'll just say hello. As you see, guys, some absolutely amazing comments there, and a really good way to tell everybody, why you're so good at what you do. And, it's not you saying it, it's your client saying it. So, please get involved with that if you'd like to. So, Dom, we've got people logged into the chat room. You want to say a few hellos?
And I've just opened it, and we have a few names that I haven't seen for a good while. So I'll just say hello to all of them. Mandeep, he's watching again. I saw him watching last week. Mandeep, very nice to see you're back. And he says, looking forward to meeting all again soon at Confex. Probably will end up being the most liked comment on all of them. Jan Denning, good afternoon. Steve Burton, good afternoon, Steve. Tia, hello. Haven't seen you since the last DW Social, which I think was in December online. Claire Whitecross, good afternoon. Diane somebody, I don't know, she's important, I think.
Diane, who's she?
Liz Johnson says, hi DWs, good afternoon to Liz. And Jan actually just said, snazzy intro. Yeah, snazzy new intro.
Yeah,
courtesy of Will, who's pushing the buttons today.
so anyway, glad to have you all here, and also the people watching on YouTube as well. Thank you very much for tuning in. So on with the show, guys.
Absolutely.
I am very happy to introduce to you my good friend who I've got to know over the last few years, who's doing a sterling job over the last few months, well, the last few years that I've known him, Duncan Custerson. Hello, Duncan. How are you?
Hello, Neil. Hello, Dom. I am well. I am head above water and being as positive as anyone possibly can be in this crazy world we're in.
You've strangely not got a very furrowed brow there, Duncan, considering how close you are to Confex.
You're very kind. It's high-end men's grooming products, which I've invested in since having now an 11-week-old.
Congratulations.
Advised to me.
yeah. Congratulations, by the way. So,
thank you.
Tell us, I know we're going to get into the full masterclass and some good do's and don'ts and tips and things in a second, but how's it going for Confex? What stage are we at? Obviously, there's a lot of stuff we're reading in the news about the dates and things. Do you want to just give us a quick snapshot of where we are? And I know we're going to talk about it at the end. And guys, any questions about Confex, you can fire them into us and we'll ask them at the end as well.
Yeah, sure. An obvious question at this juncture for sure. So I think firstly, it's important to say that MASH in general have positioned ourselves purposely to try and be that first domino for the industry, right? It was more luck than judgment that we got the day after the supposed back to normality dates. But it wasn't through lack of kind of rolling and really wanting to deliver the first show and keeping our kind of date rolls short so that we could keep trying to anticipate the first back to normality, or at least ability to be able to run a show in some sort of de-restricted climate. So it's been tough, that's for sure. Every time we roll, it's almost like planning a new show. Pieces of the puzzle move around and so on. And communication has been a really important part of that throughout, making sure all of our stakeholders, partners, sponsors know what's going on. I described it the other day, and I'm sticking with it on another webinar, as like playing chess on the back of a tortoise with a pigeon. Constantly moving, it's unstable, it's you're playing against an erratic opponent, being government not giving us advice and then giving us conflicting advice. So yeah, it's been tough, mate, for sure. But we are ready. We have been ready for some time to run a socially distanced version of the show with all of the also secure standards in place, and that at one point was the show that we were ready to run. I think the 21st of June being back to full normality, supposedly, and you're right, there is a little bit of a question mark on will that roll by 2 weeks. But I think it's important to remember we were ready to run as a 1,000 capacity event with tiered entry, so morning, afternoon sessions, all of the safe, secure standards in place. We currently have just shy of 4,500 registered live attendees, chomping at the bit to come to the event. So we can run in that capacity. Obviously, the hope is that we can run with with less of the restrictions and certainly on numbers, because the events industry being what it is, the registrations are going to come in thick and fast over these next few weeks. So we're already at a really strong baseline. It's now waiting to see what government say to see which version we can run.
And at some point, I guess you've got to make a decision on getting that message out to people and communicating with them what they have to do and when they can come and what steps they have to take. And I guess that's coming up pretty soon, probably next week, I guess.
It is, yeah, and we've started to drip feed some of that information.
Yeah, I'm seeing it.
We need to nail our colours to the mast when it comes to what planning for the show looks like for visitors and exhibitors, and that's tough in a grey area when government haven't given us those guidelines. So we're working to our best educated guess, and like I say, nailing our colours to the mast on that, meaning we will be going with pre-show testing to enter to enter Excel, and we're working collaboratively with Excel on that. But we're keeping all of the all safe secure standards in place. So we have wider aisles, we do have spaced seating on theatres, etc. Perhaps that'll be 1 metre, perhaps it won't be, depending on what the announcement is. So a lot of the elements within the show can change, but the core question marks, I think we just need to run at are, let's make it confidence building and secure with testing. Very easy to source one. I ordered 7 online the other day. So let's be ready in that respect, and we'll deal with the moving parts like we always can and will as organisers with the show layout within.
Can I just ask on the testing front, are you running testing prior to entry actually on site at all?
No.
Okay, fine. I wasn't sure. I've actually not been to any live events yet, so I don't know if it's just a case of I have to test myself before I go, or if you're going to test me when I get there.
Yeah, the logistical issues with testing on site is that if you say you can test on site, the events industry, us as individuals will leave everything to the last minute, and then there's a logistical queue issue on site.
Which is why I wondered,
Source your own tests, which is very easy to do. Please take that one job away from me, and then you can come in and enjoy the show.
Yeah, they're very easy to get. I mean, I've got a testing centre just around the corner from me, so I bring them into the office, but they're very simple to get online.
Got visions of you there testing everybody as they come in, Duncan.
Yeah, personally.
Personally. Go see Duncan, fellow with the beard. Anyway, so on with the show. So I guess, Duncan, we're going to move straight into the masterclass side of it. First of all, should we cover off? I know you wanted to cover off, exhibitors and some good tips for exhibitors, etc., etc. Do you want to start there?
Do you mind? Sorry, do you mind if I just jump in briefly, because there's a question that came in just as you mentioned exhibitors, from Steve, saying, for exhibitors, is it 1 test per day or 1 test for all 3 days, including setup?
It's a really good question. So again, hence, in this climate, it's a bit of a moving feast. We're currently working to 48 hours, showing a negative test within 48 hours. So if you do it the morning of the show, as a exhibitor coming on site, you'll be covered. Obviously, you've got build to factor in as well. So it may be that some exhibitors, depending on if they're space only or shell, may have to do a second one. But we're waiting to see where we land with the testing ruling, if there are any rulings around testing, because it may be that there won't be. But I think we're still going to stick to the testing, even if government say that it's not a requirement or the dates have rolled. I think it's better that
we'll make people feel safe. Yeah. Okay, cool. Great question, Steve. So should we crack on then? So exhibitors, where do we start?
Yeah. So where do we start? I think probably a good place to start is before having actually booked your stand. And I know a lot of people potentially watching this might be exhibitors at Confex and wanting to know what to do on site, and we can look at that. But I think it's quite important to cover off why book a stand, and in what sort of thought process should you be going through. And I think to quote Raoul from Flume Sales Training, who's been sort of omnipresent throughout this period, I think it's understanding your why. Are you exhibiting purely for leads? that's obviously a big part of it. And if you are exhibiting for leads, is that qualified leads that are genuine potential business opportunities and looking to book in your venue or use your service, or is it a numbers game? Are you looking to build a database to work on filtering later in the year or moments out from the show, or is it just a big brand awareness piece? Are you a new business? Are you new to the market? So there's lots of elements you need to consider before booking that stand, and once you have then decided on how you're going to exhibit and what you want to get out of it, it's communicating that internally, knowing it as the person who signed off the budget, knowing it for your sales team so they know why they're there and they're delivering on the expectations of, we want 50 qualified leads, or we just want to get over 500 contacts from this event. But almost more importantly, making sure that whoever your show contact is, that they understand your expectations as well, because then they can manage your expectations and make sure that you're doing the right thing at the show to glean what you want from it. So I think that's just important to probably cover off. So what good looks like, and managing your expectations and making sure all parties know about that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, and I think that what that leads to as well, once you know the why and why you're doing it and what you expect to gain from it or what you're hoping to get from it, that should almost drive your pre-event activity as well. So I'm thinking like social media and using the app and talking to it. I mean, one thing that somebody made a point to me, but I'm going to claim it as my own, is Confex is an amazing place to go and reconnect with people, because the industry's moved around a little bit and people have shuffled jobs and things. So there could be new people at all these new places. So I think it's all this trying to touch base with them before and speaking to them and lining things up. Do you agree, Duncan? That's
absolutely right. Was it me who said that to you, Dom?
I think I said it to you, but I'd already nicked it from someone.
Oh, okay, fine. I think I've been claiming that for myself as well. You're absolutely right. Sadly, there's been a lot of movement in the industry, and Confex is positioned as an opportunity to reposition your and reconnect with the industry and work out who's where and what they're responsible for again, and build that leads database up. So using social media, absolutely, pre-event, LinkedIn, and whatever platforms you have most of your own, both your own contact base, but also connecting with the organisers' networks and so on, and linking them in with their various hashtags and so on. So and certainly video has been a huge way of doing that, as opposed to just posting stories. I think personal video content, getting involved with webinars that are relevant, in the lead up, perhaps hosting your own, as a business, talking about what you're going to be doing on site. Lots of things you can do there. Utilizing the simple things like the email banners that will be provided from the show, but you can also make your own personal ones, highlighting your stand location. It's simple, but and you may think, well, that's only communicating to my own network, but the point of shows is bringing together all of those cumulative networks into one place, and the crossover of business that can create for you're not just bringing your attendees to give to other people. It works vice versa, really serendipitously. So that's really important. And equally, you're not necessarily telling everyone verbally you're there. So having it on your email is just that constant reminder to let your clients know it's a good time to come and meet you and continue. I'm just
going to jump in there as well, and sorry, Dom. I'm just going to jump in and tell guys as well that from the Friday afternoon before Confex, we're going to be doing a Confex takeover on the Delegate Wranglers. So anybody who's exhibiting can actually get some messages out, and you're allowed to post once or twice a day, I think we normally say, and try and generate some interest. But I think it all comes, so that'll run right through to up to and including the show itself. So what I was going to say is I think that goes back to planning and your strategy. You're going to come, I know we're going to come on to that, Duncan, about things that you do on site. Maybe you might have some special offers, or you might have something, a show only offer, or things like that. So I just want to let people know about that. And I know Duncan as well, after Dom's question, we've also got the app, haven't you, as well, the Confex app that people can use as well.
Yeah, which is we had it last year as well, but importantly, last year it was fantastic, worked really well, and it was a new element to the show, and around 2,500 of our visitors utilised it, and a huge number of meetings. I haven't got the stats to hand, but a huge number of connections were made through it. This year, but for health and safety reasons, and the climate we're in general, with a much more focus on digital. It's so important to pre-download that and use it, not least for safety messaging. So on arrival at Confex, at Custom House, you will receive your notifications to let you know to get your QR codes ready, etc. Also, any ad hoc messages that we might need to send can come to you through that app. So it's a great communication tool, and so well worth downloading pre-event to get familiar with it. But more importantly, from a leads perspective, it's where our visitor network are sitting and waiting. So as of the next couple of days, the event app is now live, but we'll be opening it up to exhibitors and visitors to start their communication chats from in the next 24 hours or so. And use it, start conversations, invite people to meetings. I do suggest linking with people that you think are relevant and starting that warmer conversation initially, and do invite them for a meeting. But I always kind of caveat that with, don't feel disheartened if you aren't accepted for a meeting. It's still worth reaching out, because when you walk the show as a visitor, the show pulls you in all kinds of directions, which is great because it is such a networking hub. And, 1 minute you bumped into Dom and he's talking to you about some of the new tech that he's got. Next minute, Neil's chewing your ear off. Something to do with football, I don't know. I'm not a football man. But you know what I mean? You're pulled around, and you sometimes can, sadly, miss meetings. But because you've reached out as an exhibitor, that reminder will go off in your head as you walk the floor and you go, oh yeah, you reached out to me. Really sorry I missed the meeting, but I'm here now. And so it was so worthwhile to use the tech to make that connection pre-event.
I've literally just downloaded it now. I'm on Apple, but go to your app store and literally just search Confex, and it was the very first one to come up. Really easy to install.
Yeah, swap card, isn't it, as well?
Oh, is it? Okay, fine. I searched Confex and it came up, so we're all good. I didn't realise that you had the app at Confex last year, but I can attest to how good apps at meetings are, because we actually landed one of our biggest clients through someone getting in touch with us through the app at the meeting show a couple of years ago. And they remain one of our biggest clients now. So the use of that introduction, and they actually reached out to me having read my profile on the app. So it's not, for me, it's not just about registering and using the app, but it's completing all the bits of information as well that can potentially lead you to have those meetings. And for me, the more information you put on there, the greater the chance that they would accept the opportunity to meet you.
That's exactly right, and that it brings you on to a good point. Actually, obviously this year numbers are going to be a bit of a question mark. Who knows what the industry really and truly looks like? I think Confex will be the litmus test to show you if you're in the events industry and still here and still planning events. You look across LinkedIn, it's see you at Confex. But the app extends the value of the show, so you can start those connections as an exhibitor pre-event, and you can continue them post-event. There may be people you missed, and that conversation carries on through the app. So that adds so much value than just a 2-day physical live event.
And actually, do you know what, on that and actually on that exact note, I can attest to that as well. Again, different event from a couple of years ago, but IBTM, I met two people after IBTM through the app that we've been in touch. We quoted on a couple of things for them prior to lockdown last year, but I'm still in touch with them, and I've got no doubt at some stage we'll end up doing work together. So, and that came two or 3 days after the event had happened. So yeah, it's a living thing.
To that end, Dom, as well, Jan's just put a nice comment. Jan, hi Jan, by the way. Nice comment. The app will connect so many people and save any potential lost opportunities. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
And Mandy, just to answer your question, he said, which is the best one to use, Swap Card or the Confex one? It's the same thing. So
it's the same.
Go to Swap Card and then search on Confex, and it'll come up. Or if you just search on Confex, it'll come up with the Swap Card ad. Sorry. Right. So moving on. What about when actually being on site. Okay, we've done the pre stuff. We've got on site. We know what we've had a strategy meeting. What about when we're on site in terms of like staffing and approaching, things to do, do's and don'ts maybe on the stand as well for staffing?
Yeah, for sure. I was talking to you, was it yesterday, Neil? And I described Confex as our responsibility at Confex of creating a well-stocked pond. And really, you just need to bring, it's a crude analogy, but you just need to bring the right rods, to go fishing in that pond, and so by that, I mean, make sure you've got your best sales guys there, and they understand, going back to the first point, why they're there, and making sure that they're comfortable and confident with opening conversations. And sometimes it's as basic as just kind of walking through in your head before an event. How am I going to start talking to people? I'm representing this brand. Am I going straight into a sales spiel, or am I going to come up with a cheeky line, or are we running a competition and I'm going to ask people to enter that, and then we move into a conversation about who it is and who we are and what we do. So it's just a little bit of pre-thought and making sure you've got your best team on site, on stand. I think probably the other point that goes along with that, and every organizer I think will feel my pain in this, is when you're on stand, be on stand. You've spent a lot of money to be at these trade shows. So firstly, make the most of them in the lead up, use the app, etc. But secondly, when you're there, be there, engage with people. I know, and I'm guilty of it, we're all super, super busy. The events industry are crazy busy. We've got things going on all the time, 24 hours a day. But if you are busy during that period, I would suggest don't sit on stand and be busy on your emails. Maybe go to a networking area for that, or sit in a cafe or bar, etc. Because you don't want to miss an opportunity. And I honestly think it puts people off coming onto your stand because they think, I don't want to disturb you.
Yeah, I think it's important. You know what, Duncan? It's important as well. The visitors are going to exhibitions to talk to people on stand. They're not just there for, to see the live sessions, even though I shamelessly plug our live session on 3:00 on day one, on the keynote stage. But they're there to talk to people, they're there to meet people and talk to people and learn things. So I think if you give the signs that you don't want them to come over, they're not going to come over.
No.
You know what I mean?
It's a fraction of a moment that happens.
Honestly, it blows my mind that the number of trade shows that I've walked around to see stands graphicked up, bannered up, money invested in them, and no one there at what I would say are peak times. It just blows my mind that happens. Yeah,
well, that's the other side of it, is actually not organising a schedule to make sure the stand is manned at all times. And I think going back to your point, Neil, as well, it's such a fleeting moment that you can get into a conversation. It can happen so quickly if you're looking at your emails or on your phone, or avoiding eye contact with people. And it's understandable. It's human nature. Sometimes you're tired, you're not in the mood, but be on for 2 days, and it's so worth it because you make eye contact with someone, and I don't know about you, my eyes aren't great, so I'm not staring at people's lanyards. I'm seeing who's walking that floor and being engaged and trying to engage with them, and that's when the serendipitous chats happen that turn into business. I think that's probably my biggest tip, actually.
Yeah, for on the site. Yeah, I totally agree. And there are plenty of there's people like we work with Mix and Match, Sam and Paul from Mix and Match on a bar. We got a bar, so that's easy to soften the blow. So there's lots of things like that, and lots of the bar and the networking type things. They're good ways to meet people as well, aren't they, Duncan, as well?
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that's a good point. I know this is an exhibition masterclass about exhibitions in general, but obviously I'm going to refer this to Confex because it is a showcase of what a vast proportion of exhibition / conferences are about, and it's not always transactional as visit stand, because you want to meet X client and do business. It doesn't work as simply as that. It's a lot more intricate. And you're right, it's the networking bars. It's sometimes, IBTM, you mentioned, I've met a client that I've worked with for a number of years, literally by sitting opposite them in the cafe, and we had the same sandwich. It's those moments that
it was probably the same sandwich because they've run out of the others, to be fair.
There was only one sandwich every time, but that's not the point.
That's a brilliant strategy. Buy every meal in the place and then say, look for what somebody's eating. Oh, I've got the same as you. Let's do business. I like it, Duncan. What a strategy. No, but I agree. I think those ways in, there's an art to it, isn't there? The ways into getting into a conversation with somebody. Yeah. And most of all, I'd say the biggest word, guys, is to just be authentic. Just be authentic and say, how's it going? What are you, everybody's got their own style. So what works for one person doesn't work for another, but just be authentic and be approachable. That kind of thing certainly works for me.
That's it, and it comes back to the eye contact and the willingness to be spoken to. I've got. You're right. Everybody has their way, and it's about what you feel comfortable with. I've got a colleague. He's great at networking, but his technique. He will just walk up to somebody, maybe knowing who they are, maybe not, and just say, "Hi, my name is," and sure enough, he ends up in a conversation with them, and it's quite a forward approach, but that works for him. And people appreciate it because it's quite forward.
Can I go on, Tom.
But it is the point of a trade show, is to make connections, is to go meet people. I don't walk around just to go and see or look at a brochure or go and look at product. I go to meet people. I was very fortunate a number of years ago to spend some time with a guy who always, everywhere he went, wore a bowler hat. Everywhere he went, inside, outside, any networking event, any meeting, his hat never came off. And he was always the first guy to come and introduce himself. I met him because he walked up to me and said, "Afternoon, what's your name? I'm Bob." And he wore this bowler hat everywhere, and he just became recognisable from across 1,000 people in the room. You would see where Bob stood, and you knew he was there.
Bye, bowler. Bye, bowler.
I would absolutely. I'm going to get you one, Neil.
Neil, if you're on that keynote stage at 3:00 at Confex with a bowler hat on, Dom will get his tanned legs out. I don't
know. What are you going to do, Duncan? I don't like this game.
Hey, you're cool, guys.
David, just leave the touch. Just shave the whole lot. Anyway, so one thing I was going to mention as well was I think an important thing to do is when you capture. Obviously, I know we've got the lead capture thing that you can get on the app. It comes on the app, doesn't it, Duncan? If I'm right.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So as an exhibitor, you will have that activate that element, the data scanner element, activated within the app, so that you'll be able to scan all visitors.
And it costs you to do it. There is a small fee, isn't there, for it as well?
There is a small fee. However, we have integrated that into vast majority of our stand sales from the get-go. So don't panic. There isn't a hidden cost awaiting you if there are any exhibitors watching.
No. So what I was going to say was, whether you've got that lead capture thing or not, an important thing as well is to when you get a business card, is to remember the person who you're talking to and what it was about as well. So, I think on the app, does it give you the facility to add a note or two? I seem to remember.
It does, yeah. So there's a lanyard scan, but there's also a business card scan element to it as well. So you can collate everything in the same place. I mean, there would be no reason someone wouldn't have a lanyard. So that's the first port of call. But when it comes to that lead capture, it's all kept in the app and delivered to you post-event. It's then about strategy planning as to how you're going to follow up. And I think you're absolutely right, Neil. Having notes, really understanding, depending on what your strategy is, going back to what we spoke about at the start.
Go old school. You can make, make written notes as well to back it up. Yeah, just something. Because I've come away from trade shows with business cards, and it's quite hard to remember what exactly every single conversation was. So one little tip we did was we used to get business cards and we took a stapler with us. and we would click it to an inquiry form that we would just quickly fill out so that we knew. So you can go old school, guys, as well. Just as a little tip. Apology, I'm not trying to teach anyone to suck eggs here, but just we're all here to just share tips, really. So anything like that can help.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And some people are more comfortable with the old school way. Ultimately, there's a digital way of doing that through the app, and it's all in one place then. And you're not kind of post-event trying to bring the two, old and new, not that one's better than the other, but bring the two together. And I think probably one of the follow-up, the biggest tips I would give, and I know everybody's there to create and generate leads, is really thinking about your follow-up strategy. Because there's a number of factors to think about. Are you going to go straight off the bat? There are stats that say 7 days out from the show or within that period is the prime and optimal time to follow up. There are counter arguments that every single exhibitor will be doing the same. So are you bombarding? For me, it's about quality leads and making sure that you've made your notes and you understand why you're following up and making that bespoke and individual.
You know what?
And not
absolutely couldn't agree more with you about bespoke things, because I get a lot of follow-ups from these type of things, and it's the same thing over and over again. I just get the same thing from that. I know they've just said, "Hi, we met at Confex." And then it's just said to be the same as what everybody's got. And I think we can do better than that. If you're a salesperson, we can definitely do better than that.
I had an amazing experience. I can't remember which show it was at. It wasn't that long before we went into lockdown, where I finished a conversation with a guy on a stand, and he'd been taking a load of notes because I was actually inquiring about a product. And he'd taken a load of notes on an iPad. And by the time I got to the next stand, I was checking through my phone, and an email came through from this guy's sales support team. Basically given me all of this guy's details, more information that I requested about the product. It was literally minutes, and it was by far the quickest follow-up I've ever had. And I went on to buy the product, and we're still in touch with them as a supplier. But that approach worked fantastically well. But you need people behind you to make that work. Yeah. But ultimately, again, if you've made the investment in a stand and you're there, make it work.
100%. That's really neat, and it's about finding your way that works for you. And I think again that kind of comes back to what you're doing on stand. Is it a stand activation? Is it a competition? Is it something quirky? Is it just you as an individual that finds your way? Getting into conversation, because we all know that cheeky salesperson that's just got away with introducing themselves a different way each time. But remember what you've had that conversation, what it's been about, and use that as your follow-up. And I know this makes the whole thing sound prescribed, talking about it in a masterclass on how to do it, because the best people aren't taught to do it, they just do it naturally. And they will follow up with maybe it's a WhatsApp, maybe it's using a different channel, because you know what? There is also an argument around the business card exchange. I don't carry business cards anymore, because I think if I've got a bag full of business cards, I probably only know 4 of the people in there, and generally the people that I've actually had a good conversation with, I've taken their number and we're WhatsApping now. So it's about what you're trying to.
Or the instant connection on LinkedIn is always a great way, especially if you follow that. Especially if you follow that up with an immediate message. Just met at Confex. Here's my details. We talked about this. That's all it needs to be. But just making that connection. There's a couple of things come in, Neil. Can I just go to the comments?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Jan has said HubSpot CRM can capture business cards too, so you can have reminder notes to follow up at the same time. Works really well. That's a really good tip. HubSpot CRM on a phone is great. Alex Crow says he is, where is he? Oh, he's got a stand, SPL 10 in the Suppliers Village. Alex Crow, mind reading. Love your tips today. Not exhibited at Confex for years, but back this year and really excited to make those human connections you're talking about. Lee Hurd is watching DW Live for the first time. Sorry, go on, Duncan.
On that point, I'll let you carry on with those, because I'd love to hear what people are saying. But what a great example, Alex Crow, to get cut through.
Yeah.
you know, send a message. This is the stand I'm on a live webinar. Brilliant.
Yeah, right. And actually, he's the only one that said I'm exhibiting and this is my stand number. So
no, I asked people to do that. I said, put them in, guys.
Yeah, but he's the only one. He's the only one to have done it. And I'll read it again. He is SPL 10 in the Suppliers Village, and it's Alex Crow mind reading.
I'll be there. A couple of other good things on there as well, Dom, isn't there?
Yeah, so I'm going to say hi to Lee Hurd, who's watching this for the first time. Lee, thanks for joining us. There's another 50 episodes to go back and watch. Thanks for joining us.
We'll be testing you.
Yeah, absolutely. Steve Burton says, I'm the guy who cuts his hair at online parties. If you haven't seen that, that's worth seeing. It was hilarious.
Steve, yeah. You're going to be doing a live hair cutting on the stand. Tell us what time. We'll be there. We'll film it.
Steve, if your hair is still growing from the last time you did that, please come along and we'll do a live haircut. That would be amazing. And Sam Keithley, good afternoon, Sam. Nice to see you. Hoping to see you at Confex. Ex-promo girl tip. If you end up in a little awkward silence, pick something you like visually about the person you're talking to and tell them.
I haven't told you this, Duncan, but I like your top. It's lovely. It's a lovely blouse you're wearing.
It's just a T-shirt. I believe it's John Lewis.
Put it on.
Is it?
Other brands are available.
I tell you what I'm really glad about. We all got the blue T-shirt memo.
That's a really good tip, though. Really good tip. Yeah, it's a really good tip, though, Sam. Also, Jan says, and I know that she does this, she walks around with a selfie stick, and she says it's a great icebreaker, and it really is, because she walks around and just has fun and takes photographs, and, you know, anyone who knows Jan, she's amazing. So,
you know, the second added win to that, we're going back talking about sort of follow-up on leads, is she's got photographic evidence of who she spoke to, and she'll remember that moment through the photo, so that, you know, she can follow up with a very bespoke, you know, along with the photo and say, hey, do you remember this? What a lovely way to follow up from a trade show.
You know, I was just going to say another good little tip is take some selfies with people and ask them, do you mind if we share them on social media? And then you've got a connection with them then. Or even do a video testimonial or something with them, you know, things like that. There's lots of ways that you can become memorable in with that person that might just lead to something further down the line. Because not all business, and an important thing is, Duncan, and I know we were talking about yesterday, not all business needs to be done at the show. Like somebody walks up, here's a big, massive deal, and they walk away, you say, thank you very much. Because very rarely does that happen. You know, it's more like building a relationship with something that when they need you, they will come to you. Do you agree? I mean, do you agree with that?
I absolutely agree with that. And I think as an extension, it's about making the most of the organisers' platforms in the lead up to the show. So, you know, talking about doing the videos, you know, we've had some. What's been really nice is organic videos of people just saying, we're going to be at Confex and we're taking our team down. And that's phenomenal exposure. But from a PR angle, as an exhibitor, all organisers, you know, we want noise around our shows. So you should be bombarding your account manager with, this is what we're going to be doing on stand. This is, you know, what's exciting about us, whether we've got to open a new area, had a refurb as a venue, or, you know, exciting new product. We're going to be showcasing it on our stand. Bombard your account managers with that content. Because certainly, you know, share it. We put it out on our channels because that's what the show's about. It's utilising the pre-event reach.
I went to an amazing HP event. It was a big global thing over in Madrid a number of years ago, and they ran a competition on Twitter only where you had to go and take selfies with as many HP staff as you could and post them online against the hashtag HP conference selfie or something, and then they picked a winner every couple of hours, and they were giving out some really serious prizes, and they did that for 7 days after the event. And from an event organizer perspective, I thought it was amazing, but the engagement was ridiculous. The number of people that were doing it.
Nothing to do it that easy. Yeah,
absolutely.
Exactly. Sure, great idea.
We had a scheme last year with we did the passport incentive and a kind of yellow brick road concept, and the amount of people that kind of followed that on the time-lapse video, and it was a real nice kind of, again, organic kind of exposure for the show, but also all of the partners that were involved along that stop point. And that's probably brings me on to book your stand, but speak to your account manager about how to drive traffic to your stand, what show-wide initiatives are we running, or whatever event you're at are running, because you can do your own initiative, but if you can get the power of the event itself's audience behind it, then that's really going to drive some traffic. For example, with Confex, one of the things we do with the app, now that we have one very well established, we do a must-see stand initiative. So you have an A to Z of all of the stands that are there at Confex, but 10 of them are listed at the top above the A to Z as these are our selected must-see, they're doing something interesting, and you appear above the rest. So things like that, you should have communicated to you from the event that are worth being on board with.
Sure. Can we also run a selfie with Duncan competition on Instagram?
I moved pretty fast in that show.
Listen, guys, times are ticking. Duncan, I know one of the aspects we were going to talk about was visitors. So if you're visiting the show, some good advice and some things that you should and shouldn't be doing.
Yeah. So, I mean, a lot of this goes both ways, exhibitor to visitor, because I think the psychology is quite similar. Not that I'm a psychologist at all, but certainly the eye contact piece is a key one. As you're walking the floor, do make eye contact and do get into conversations with people, because you just don't always know exactly what it is the offering perhaps is from the glance of the branding, and extending your network is so important, particularly now. So make eye contact. I think the transverse of that is if you do get into a conversation and you're genuinely like, this is of no interest to me, I would never do business with you, and I know nobody that not in a bad way, but just we're in different sectors, and it's just not relevant. Be honest about it. I think politely say this really isn't for me. I think you should be talking to others, but have a great day. Move on. Don't do that British polite thing of talking to them for half an hour about weather included, and then say and leave them thinking you were a lead, because that doesn't benefit anybody. So
I think as well, one thing we talked about yesterday as well was trying to get in the app and trying to plan your visit as well a little bit. So building in what discussions and talks and panels you might want to go to, what clients you might want to talk to, what looks interesting. Try and have a little bit of a structure. And what's a big help to the exhibitors is if you can book some appointments with them as well. So I think all these kind of things, have a strategy rather than I'm just going to go do no research, just turn up and go and have a strategy, even if it's just really loose, like 3, 4, 5 things throughout the day, and then see what happens around them. But at least have some kind of a plan, I think.
I tend to, when I visit shows, I tend to do it half and half. So I'll have a little pre-arranged meetings, maybe in the morning or afternoon, and then I allocate some time to serendipity, to walking the floor, to just seeing what happens. I think that's... And
actually, Duncan, on that subject of walking the floor, is it a one-way system around the event?
No, so we have 4-meter aisles, which means that we don't have to have a one-way system. It allows for the social distancing measures that we need with the huge space that we have within Confex,
Great. I'm going to give another quick shout out, Neil. Sorry. Claire Whitecross. Claire Whitecross said, Visions exhibited at EPS a couple of weeks ago. It was great to be live again. The team can't wait to be at Confex and the PA show. Well done to all the team at Mash Media.
And they're on our stand.
They are on stand B30C with Delegate Wranglers, and they're also on D07P at the PA show. So they are absolutely committing there.
Smashing it. Smashing it. Yeah, no, guys, drop us a line. As I say, we'll give you a shout out if you're coming. Just so that note there from Helena. I'm really sorry we can't visit because we can't travel to the UK. That's a pity, Helena, but we'll be back again soon, I guess, to normal.
We will at least, I'll jump in there because we will at least be doing some, if not live, we will be filming some interviews with all of the people on the Delegate Wrangler stand and maybe some other people too.
No, we're going to be doing Facebook Live. Yeah, we're going to be doing some Facebook Lives, guys. So look out for us. If you see me or Dom, come and grab us, and we will try and have a chat to you and go live to the group or whatever we do, or come to our bar and we'll do some kind of event. Us, we kind of free flow it a bit. A bit like what Duncan said. We plan it a bit and we free flow it a bit as well. So yeah, please come and grab us and say hello, and we'll see if we can get you on, because we want to just connect people and let people say hello and stuff. We're also going to be on, as I said, mentioned earlier, shameless plug. We're going to be doing this show in 2 weeks from the keynote stage of Confex, which should be interesting. So Dom's prepared his dance routine. So
no,
you've got your bowler hat, Neil.
Yeah, I was going
I've got my bowler
hat. we have a dance routine in the making, don't we? I said we're going to be TikTok famous by the end.
Definitely not. So
you regret this decision.
No, you see me dance. So yeah, look out for us, guys. And also, Duncan, one other good thing for if you come in as well as a visitor, make some appointments to see some old suppliers as well, because as I say, there's been a bit of movement of staff as well. But not only that, even if there hasn't, go and see them, say hello, reintroduce yourself. You're back, and go for a drink with them, or go, whatever it is. Just make some connections, because it's really important. That's what this business is all about.
Absolutely, and it's been off the back of a very, I don't know what word to use, a crazy year, but there has been so much movement, and the point of Confex is firstly so we can start to reconnect the industry and kind of set the baseline as to who's in the industry now, and who's still booking events, and who's still available to help them run them. So yeah, if you're not there, you're not necessarily in the industry. It's, for one of a better way of putting it. And once we've ran it, that's the benchmark. Now everybody else can start to go, okay, it's possible. Now they can put pen to paper, as opposed to kind of holding dates for the events that they're thinking about. It will be that line in the sand for the industry to move forward.
Yeah, I think very much so.
Duncan, can I ask, have you felt a bit of pressure to put Confex on?
Yeah, I think there's a real responsibility because of where MASH media sit in the industry as an information hub for the sector. I think kind of just as you guys, Delegate Wranglers, if you ran a trade show, I think you'd probably feel the same pressure to run it, because it's a community that rely on it. So yeah, there's certainly been an obligation, I would say, is probably the word. I'm very much cautiously optimistic about it as well. I think, we're trying to plan every measure we possibly can. I do think it's going to go ahead. And, like I say, we've been ready to go ahead for half a year longer, under social distance parameters.
Of course.
But that's the key, is it needs to happen. And we do need to get together as an industry. We were integral in helping to launch One Industry, One Voice, and there's so much lobbying that's happened from MASH media, and we've been sort of getting behind and trying to keep the lights on. It feels like this is the line in the sand to say, once it's done, then we can relaunch systems go.
Yeah, totally agree. And what I'd like to say is to everyone, I know how hard you guys have worked behind the scenes. Not only you, but the other show organisers as well. They've had to deal with multiple moving dates, and this is not just like one single little event. This is a thing with millions of parts to it, and they've had to go along with this. And you've done so well to get this date, draw a line in the sand, say this, put our flag in. This is what we're going to do, and we're going to be here. We know you're the kind of, it's the first big massive show out the blocks, and it's all been done with an absolute positive vibe. So hats off to you, mate. You've done, you and Marty as well, Marty Fullard from Conference News, banged the drum really loudly. So thank you very much, and thanks for that brilliant masterclass as well. Some fantastic tips as well. Really, really appreciate it.
It felt like a chit chat, Neil, to be honest. So hopefully there was some takeaways. I said it felt a bit more like just a catch up with you and a chit chat. So I hope there was some takeaways.
We do, isn't it, Dom?
Exactly.
Do you know what? If anything indicates that there were some takeaways, I've already had a LinkedIn request from Alex Crow, who I mentioned earlier, saying taking your advice and making the connection on LinkedIn. So Duncan,
Very nice.
By any standard, that's a masterclass.
Next time you're on, Duncan, I'm going to be more Paxman with you, definitely. Really,
I'd like to see that side. I don't know that it exists.
Doesn't exist. No, Duncan, thank you from all the people watching and all the people tuning in. thanks so much for coming on and sharing those tips. Really, really appreciate it.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Duncan.
Hope to see you there.
We'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, you will. Okay, guys. So that's been amazing. I just wanted to say one little thing now that Duncan's gone. He's not gone, but he's gone off the show. I'd just like to say, I think as an industry, Confex has come at a really important time, and I think we really need to be, as long as you feel comfortable with it, you feel safe with your own situation and your own health and everything. You know, you might have had the 2 jabs, and we're going to be doing all these various tests and things that we have to do. Let's get behind it and let's really get to Confex. Let's really support it. You know, we're all talking about what we're going to do for our industry. This is what you can do for your industry. You can come, you can support it, you can go and see all the exhibitors, you can go and see all the people who are speaking, you can go and network with people, you can go and reconnect, find new people that you haven't met before. But let's all do it. Let's all get behind it and make this show a real success that it kind of deserves. I mean, to agree, Dom, you know, it's really important, isn't it?
Everyone needs to take comfort in the fact that while we all have to be comfortable in going and attending ourselves, I think you have to take comfort in the fact that these guys have got this. They've got every possible safety measure, safety precaution in place. The 4-meter aisles, the entry in the morning, the afternoon, potentially the limited numbers, the space between the seats. There isn't anything more that as an event organizer on an event this scale that anyone could do. And regardless of what happens for me on the 21st of June, I will go. I may wear a mask. We may have to wear masks. I can't actually remember. But there's no question of us being there. And that's us in terms of everyone here at Stream. We're all going to be there for the couple of days. And I think it's really important that everyone gets behind it, because I think, as Duncan said earlier, you know, this is the benchmark. It's the benchmark. It's the litmus test for everything else that happens from this point forward. And I think we need to support it.
Absolutely, and as T has just said in the chat, I miss exhibitions.
Yeah,
so do I. And let's go, guys, and make lots of interesting connections, have lots of fun, good time, learn some things. You know, what's not to love about that? So let's all try and get down to Confex. I know Diane has put the link in the chat as well, or just search on International Confex and you'll find a way to register if you're not already done. Okay.
I'm just going to, because I haven't mentioned it, but Chrissy, who, out of everybody, apart from you as well, Neil, out of everybody, I'm most looking forward to seeing Chrissy, because it's been a long time and she's been the most amazing support to me in the last few months. She said she's going to bring bowler hats for everybody.
She's got them as well. I know she has.
She has.
Okay. Right. What we'll do, guys, we'll put it later on this evening. We'll do the wrap up as well, and we'll put some links to some of the things that we talked about, or any resources we can share as well. So now it's that time for the weekly lowdown, which is some little bite-sized bit of good news from myself and Martin Fullard from Conference News. So I hope you enjoy this, guys, and we'll be back just after it to wrap up the show.
Hello and welcome to the Delegate Wranglers Weekly Lowdown with Mash Media. As ever, I'm Martin Fullard. Now, some good news which I hope didn't escape your attention this week is that Liverpool's public health officials and scientists have said that the city's pilot events did not cause any detectable spread of COVID-19 in the region. The city hosted 4 events as part of England's event research programme, with a total of over 13,000 people attending the Good Business Festival, 2 nightclub events hosted by Circus, and the Sefton Park Pilot Music Festival. Now, all attendees were required to take a lateral flow test before and after. Of course, only a negative test would gain them entry, and people had to test afterwards as well. 5 people did test positive before, but therefore weren't allowed in the event. For the business event, there were 0 cases before and afterwards. So that's a great news and a great stepping stone for the industry. Now, next up, the Edinburgh International Conference Centre has secured the 15th World Congress on Endometriosis. Try saying that if you've got a hangover. With the International Healthcare Conference set for the venue between the 3rd and 6th of May in 2023. Now, the conference will take place in the UK for the first time since 2000, 21 years ago, with 1,200 delegates expected to attend and an estimated economic impact for Edinburgh of about £3 million. So a great win for those guys up there. And lastly, Creative Communications Group, DRPG, received a royal visit from His Royal Highness the Earl of Wessex, that's Edward, on the 27th of May to understand how the agency has coped with COVID-19 and its contribution towards sustainability. The Earl of Wessex visited DRPG studios in Worcestershire to commend the agency's health and safety during the pandemic. And during the visit, His Royal Highness toured the dedicated COVID-19 testing centre and spoke with many of the team about how the pandemic had impacted the business. So if there is a bigger testimonial out there, I don't think I've found it yet. And that is your weekly lowdown.
Thank you, Marty. Brilliant job as always on that news. Hope you enjoy it, guys. Let us know if you do. So, last couple of things is what's coming up on the show in the next few weeks. So if we could just run that slide, Will, that'd be fab, because I can't remember. On Thursday, we've got on Thursday the 10th, which is just in a couple of days. We've got a new members webinar with an onboarding with Diane. So you can register for that, guys. Just go to delegatewranglers.com/DW-broadcast. This show next week is a COVID secure events masterclass with Sarah Felfour from Brightspace Events. We've already started getting quite a lot of registrations for that already. So that should be really good timing, particularly as we should get an announcement from the government on the 14th, and that's on the 15th. So hopefully Sarah can unpack a bit of that for us as well. Then we're going to a Boost Your Reputation webinar with me, just telling you all about the superstars. The week after that is Confex. Are you excited, Dom?
It's just come around so quickly and we've got so much stuff going on. But yeah, 2 weeks today, in fact, we are live at Confex, and we are live on the keynote stage at 2 p.m, are we?
No, 3. So
3 p.m.
we'll be probably having a quick stiff drink at the bar before we go on stage, Dom, I would imagine.
Yeah, and actually it might well be a cocktail that Sam and Paul make us on the DW stand.
Absolutely. And one little extra thing that's not on there, guys, is look out on the group tomorrow, because Diane and myself are going to the brand new inside Newcastle hotel. And we're going to be doing a live sneak preview where we're going to be going around the hotel, sharing bits of the hotel and some of the funky things that they do there. So look out for that, guys. We'll probably be coming live to you 3, 4, 5 times throughout the day. So try and join in with that and check them out. And that's it, Dom. I think that's another episode down. I really enjoyed that today. Always great talking to Duncan. What a guy. So
superstar.
He is a superstar. He's holding it all together really well. So anyway, thank you everybody for tuning in. We really appreciate it. Thanks to everybody on YouTube for watching as well, and on Facebook. Thanks to EventCase and to Stream for their fantastic services for helping us put this on. Great job by Will on pushing the buttons there. And Dominic for...
You're saying great job literally just as he made the only error of the whole thing.
Can't teach it. Time
it. His face has gone bright red. You can't see him. He's gonna kick himself about that for another 20 minutes now.
Well, you had it all nailed as well until that point. Anyway, so yeah, without any further ado, we will say goodbye and thank you for tuning in. Really appreciate your support. You know, we only do this for you guys, so please spread the word. Please follow us on YouTube, and we will see you next week.
See you next week, 1:30 back here. Thanks for watching.